Welcome back to the program. This morning we get to speak about disability and inclusion. How do we get our children, those who have one disability or the other, involved in in the process and carried along in the society? Because every day what we see is it seems there's a divide between those who have special needs and those who need more support, and they're not getting it, especially in this part of the world. And we have somebody who's been doing a lot in supporting, in also training, in also enlightening people on what we can do as a people to support people who have challenges in neuro issues and all of that. So we have joining us this morning to help make sense of the discussion Eyvonne Eleko, who is a founder, daughter of Alien Support and Empowerment Initiative, who's joining us from the United States this morning as we have this discussion. A very good morning to you, Eyvonne.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Well, let's talk about the topic inclusion and disability, how to assess those who have neurodiversity issues and challenges. You've done a lot of work around this area. Walk us through how you started, the passion behind this, and why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. So, I grew up in Nigeria, and so my passion started from a personal lived experience as a neurodivergent. And growing up, not knowing the right words for how different I felt being, in school, and just my struggle and getting my diagnosis later on in life, and understanding that children, there are people like myself out there, there are children out there in Nigeria and in Africa in particular, because this is a conversation that we rarely have. And so that passion just started for me to be able to help other children that might be in the similar situations that I was growing up, and not finding the right words to describe how I felt and what my struggles were.
Oh, wait, yes, who were those supported you? And did you have special schools? Did you have teachers? Did you have family and friends who supported and assisted you?
Absolutely, yes. So my parents were very understanding and very supportive of, my journey throughout. And thankfully, I'm in an environment where the conversation is not new to, the Western world, right? Being a neurodivergent now is not seen as something that is considered a stigma or something odd. And, but growing up, I know that I struggled particularly in classrooms, because the classrooms for a neurodivergent mind is not the same for neurotypical minds. But we all had to go through all of that, right? So having to go through that again is definitely something that I want to be able to highlight as we go on in the conversation. But I've been very blessed to have a very supportive community, just overall.
What neurodiversity means, and you've been in Nigeria, I guess, and you know how the society works around here. Walk us through, because a lot of things are said. If somebody has challenges, even mental health issues, if people say you're not strong enough, maybe you have an attack from witches, wizards, a lot of ideologies that come to play. So what was did you experience Nigeria, and did you experience the kind of issues that come with being in the class and not being able to really express yourself and people understanding how you feel?
So I would say that, so if I were to explain neurodivergence to an individual who is not familiar with the term, the example I like to give is, we all see, you have your Android and you have your phone, you have your iPhone, right? both of these operating systems are very different. And the same is similar to the way the brain works, right? There's a neurotypical mind, which is the way an average, the most population sees the world. And then there's a very selected few of us who sees the world differently. You might process information differently, the way that then I would take certain information, certain weather, certain temperatures, even touch or feel, right? Might be very conducive for such, for the very general public, while it's different from a neurotypical mindset. So I just like to make sure that especially with the foundation, what I like to do is to make sure that we are moving away from the stigma that is attached to being a neurodivergence, that it has to be spiritual attack or there's something wrong with you, right? It's just a way of understanding that everybody is different from the other person, and people are going to be different, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Disability inclusion, we seem to have less of that in Nigeria in different spheres. You go to banks, if you're on a wheelchair, you struggle because there's no special, provision made for you to go up and all of that. How has that affected us? Are we a country that silences or a continent rather in Africa? Because you say you do the work across Africa, which we'll come to ask questions about that. Do we like to silence people who don't feel like us, don't think like us? Because I remember growing up, there were some families that had children that were autistic and all of that, and they don't even allow them to come out to come play. They hide them. If visitors come, they tell them go inside the room because it portrays that they are weak and all of that. Walk us through what do you think about it?
As I mentioned, Nigeria, Africa or Nigeria in particular, right? We still have a long way to go when it comes to carrying everybody along, especially when it comes to inclusion. And I think that we are missing out on a lot of talent when it comes to the people that we overlook, right? A lot of the most brilliant minds and innovators in the world are people that are on the spectrum, right? So when we then look at people who are on the wheelchair and you're being considered not being able to work, whereas in the Western world where you have opportunities for whether you are on the wheelchair or you are being able to work from home or whatever accommodations the community or the society can give to you, I think would definitely help Nigeria when it comes to that. And you mentioned earlier that, with parents just having the children go inside maybe because they think they are a stain to the name of the family. That is also something that we need to start moving away from as a community, because you have children that nobody asked to, we don't have control over the way our brain processes things, or over whether any form of disability at all. So as a community, as a society, I think we need to start seeing things differently and understand that the more people we overlook, the more talent we're passing. And think about it, especially now with the brain dump, everybody's trying to leave the country. And then the people that are still there, we're not making good use of them. We're not investing in them at all. So I think we have a long way to go for sure.
How common is neurodiversity in Nigerian homes, and how can people recognize it earlier, especially for families who are listening? It's a Saturday morning, so many persons are home, and maybe they are coming across it for the first time, new families, or even those who've had families for a long time, and are thinking this child looks different, it talks different, it thinks different. How can people identify? Because that's one thing for us to be able to appreciate and work well or have a better relationship with those who are on the spectrum, like you mentioned. We must be able to identify. So what are some of the early signs that people could identify and say, okay, this child, I need is a special child. I have to be able to work well better with the child.
I think overall, some of the early signs and patterns that we want to look out for, I'm no in no way diagnosing, right, or giving, but this is just an advice that I feel like definitely can work. Just paying attention to those consistent patterns, right? If a child is maybe somewhat considered timid, right? And I put quote unquote because that's the word we used to describe. You have a problem keeping constant maybe eye contact, right? Or maybe they're sensitive to touch, or they're sensitive to noise, right? Or maybe they don't even like certain foods, or they just pay attention to certain subjects, or maybe they are considered. I know growing up, I was considered very playful because, again, I just had a lot of energy. So, being stubborn could also be something that you would, in a typical Nigerian household, you probably want to pay attention to. And particularly when it comes to also medically, if your child is not developing as they should, maybe they're late to when it comes to communications, just overall difficulty with focusing, right? And then maybe just again, I mentioned earlier, extreme sensitivity to I work with a parent whose child does not like clothing tags. So whenever you get him any shirt, he wants to make sure the shirt comes up because it's just uncomfortable. So certain things that you definitely want to pay attention and seek medical or professional guidance as well when you start to notice these things.
Some persons in Africa say, let's flog the child or let's discipline the child to get in line. Does that work? Is that a method that could be applied? Because if you come in a typical Nigerian household and you're saying you don't like tax on clothes that you did not buy,
Yeah.
the parents may say you have to wait because we make the rules. So walk us
Right.
through those who feel we can discipline the child and the child will fall into place.
So that's definitely not going to work. And I'm going to speak again from experience. I went to a very strict Catholic boarding school where, you have to follow rules, you have to follow orders. And we understand that every child is not going to be the same. So when you think about rather than approach things from a developmental standpoint, if we're thinking it is more of discipline, I have to make sure I get you in check. What that does to a child is they lose themselves over time, right? A lot, and it's no a lot of us out here, and I'm going to use this as an example. A lot of us out here, we come and then you have to deconstruct from the social way that we've been raised, which is being shy or not even, your self-esteem in a way is impacted because they're trying to beat sense into you, quote unquote, right? So discipline is never going to work. Understanding is that it's definitely going to get a lot of parents further when it comes to understanding your child. Understand that if a child is acting out, maybe pay attention to some of those instances or situations that triggers them to act out. If a child is not paying attention to certain subjects, I know that I hated maths, not because I wasn't brilliant in other subjects, but maths just wasn't my thing, but art was my thing. My mom didn't like that very much because my siblings were very good at maths and further maths. So that used to cause that, that bump where it's like, why are you just different from everybody else? And so paying attention to those things definitely will help. Discipline is not going to help. I'll tell you for a fact from experience, it will have a longer effect when it comes to your confidence and the child's self-esteem. And that's not beneficial to anybody.
So you've been talking about discipline this morning can understand, but though a Christian will say the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child. Maybe you comment about that later, but let's talk about the challenges that children who are neurodiverse, the challenges they face in predominantly in Nigerian families and in Africa, growing up, just being different, thinking different, feeling different. I've seen a child while we're growing up who said she does, a female, she said she doesn't like, she doesn't laugh or she doesn't smile like if people are talking and everybody thinks this thing is funny, but she's not given to just laughter and jokes and all of that. We used to say, are you sure you are okay? Maybe so a lot of meanings were read into it, and that, I guess, now I know better. Maybe that was just the way she was, and would have looked for ways to, because we didn't know better, right, to work around that. So instead, the society will make jest of you, your friends will make jest of you, they will call you out and try to use those things to make you look inferior in the society. What are some of the challenges that your organization, working with the organization, and over the years of experience you've had, you've noticed predominance with children who have neuro issues here and there, or challenges?
Some of the challenges, number one on that list definitely is the stigma, right? A lot of people, whether they are diagnosed, are afraid to come out to say, oh, I have that, or I'm neurodivergent, or I have ADHD, or I'm dyslexic. So the stigma is a problem because people are, they're afraid they're going to laugh at you and call you certain words that, what I mean? Like, so that is number one. And number two would be certainly even getting people to understand that everything is not always going to be a spiritual attack, especially working with the parents. They seem to think that there's something, it's something they can pray away. And what we've been trying to do is to deconstruct the brain to, the parents, to understand that the earlier you understand your child, the earlier you start to give them the support they need, the earlier your child starts to improve. If your child is not speaking at age 3, then maybe we need to start getting, thinking of speech therapists. I'm not saying don't pray. You can pray, but get them the right support that they need. Certainly on that too is the fear of even maybe wanting to get diagnosed. I got my diagnosis late, and but one of the things that I know for sure was the fear of going to a professional to actually get the right words for why exactly am I different from the other person, right? Why do I process information differently? Why do certain things trigger me and then it doesn't trigger the next person next to me? So encouraging people to embrace this again and see that it's not something wrong. It's not a disability. Rather, it is a difference. So those are some of the things we have been seeing. And I know that when it comes to the educators as well, educators are not well equipped to be able to even cater to different students that they have in a class. It's a ratio of 1 teacher to 40 students, but we have one approach to all the students, right? How do you know that they all understand information the right way or the same way? So working with the educators to be able to understand that every child would need different attention. And I know it might not sound fair to ask teachers to pay attention to everybody, but as a community, I think we need to start equipping our educators to be able to get them there to provide the right support to just every student in the classroom for the betterment of this, our society going in the future.
What you do. I'd like to start by asking, when you left the shores of Nigeria and you traveled and you saw the difference, how did it come to you? How were you able to analyze, the cultural and societal difference to inclusion between the both society, the West where you are, and here in Nigeria and in Africa generally? Then also, I'd like to ask, how did you start the work you do with, coming to be an advocate? Because you would just have moved on, all right? So I've gotten my
Yeah.
diagnosis, say it, and go your way. What brought the passion to wanting to reach out more people and share the information? So first, it's about the difference and the cultural shock. How did it come to you, and how were you able to, understand this? And second, why did you decide to, push the information and enlighten the society?
Yeah. So the first question is understanding basic human respect, right? When you are in it, the fact that everybody is respected and valued is certainly different. And not saying that Nigeria, as you know, we don't respect each other, but we tend to overlook ourselves, right? You see somebody who maybe had an accident, not by their choice, and now they're having to use a wheelchair, and you think you're better than them just because you're still able to walk on your feet. To me, that is definitely, I think it's a mindset thing, right? And then you have employers who would overlook or pass over somebody who is maybe neurodivergent, or maybe also living with a disability, because you feel that the disability gets in the way of performing their job. But these are also some of your best performing employees. But because of the disability, you pass them over for a promotion or something, something, or some sort of recognition, right? But that's not the same here. So the shock also is, we have, again, basic human rights is certainly something that we also need to highlight here, where my employer, working my regular 9 to 5, they understand that if the light is flickering, or if you are in an environment that is very noisy, you're not going to be able to be a productive member of the organization. So we make accommodations for you to be able to work, whether you're getting noise cancellation headphones, or you have a secluded room that allows you to actually be productive, right? So I think we need to start moving in that direction, where we understand that everybody has rights and everybody needs to be respected and valued. Not, nobody is better than the other. We need to start seeing that. And thinking back on why, the second question that you asked, thinking back on why I decided to come back to Nigeria to set this up, was again thinking back on growing up, my struggles, and not understanding my talents, the gift that I have, and how to harness that until I came into an environment that allowed me to really be able to fully develop myself and be the person that I am today. And so giving back to, going back home to set up an ecosystem where a child going through, or a parent going through whatever my parents went through, or myself, or a child going through whatever I had gone through growing up, will be, will have different chances and opportunities to, to be able to dig deep into their personality, their person, and embrace it. So that's definitely one of the driving factors for me.
Amazing. I'd like to ask about how you've been received, and how your message is being received by people in Nigeria when you come to tell them, all right, we could have inclusion, let's bring more persons, let's understand children who act differently. How has that message been received? Have the people given you more of a welcoming approach to what you do, or you just come and people say, we're not interested in this. The issues of Nigeria are more of economic issues. If you came to talk about maybe reform, subsidies, and all of that, you'd have made more sense.
Yeah.
Don't mind. I'm just asking, how has the reception been?
I think overall it's been wonderful, because and that made me very excited, because it tells me that we are also opening our eyes to, to not just pick up the other, the things that are considered maybe irrelevant in the Western world, but also things that would help us overall, right? So reception has been very great. It's been amazing. We setting up the community for mothers where they can share information. People are understanding now that, okay, my child is dyslexic. I need to understand how to help her. Maybe I need to join the community. So overall, the reception has been amazing. And I'm excited for the work that we're going to be doing.
To talk about your team members and those you have in Nigeria, foot soldiers, if I may, who put out this work. I like you just highlight their roles and how supportive they've been to the work you do. And have you started any on the ground engagement? And you may want to walk us through that.
Yes. So I have an amazing team of, like you mentioned, in Nigeria. And a lot of the work that they've been doing is doing those research, right? Because it's one thing for us to have the passion and the goal to say, oh, we want to go back and give, I want to go back home and give back. But to be able to actually connect with the grassroots, the people in the churches who wants to play dyslexia away, or even people on the streets who don't understand. So they've been going out there doing the grassroots outreach, doing carrying out research with educators to see how we can help them. Right? What are some of the tools they would need? What are some of the infrastructure that we need to be able to push? Because I know the policies are there, but it just needs to be repackaged and rebranded such that we can push further to get the inclusion and get all the work done. So amazing team in Nigeria. We have a team here in the US and Canada as well. Amazing group of people, and their main role is also to not just, because we're not just focusing on Nigeria and Nigerians in Nigeria, we're focusing on diasporans as well, right? So making sure we're also connecting with the people here to do that. Now, some of the grassroots work we've been doing is, so we have the Help Your Child Learn initiative that we are working on currently, which is to go back to the schools to give students the tools that will help them learn better. So we are working on flashcards that has the curriculum, because I know personally, being neurodivergent, I love flashcards, right? Because it just helped me to memorize better. So we're giving the flashcards back to the students. It would cover the key subjects that they need to study for exams. So, and we're also working on initiatives like the color-coded books, because again, it makes it very exciting. They're able to know what chapter or what page they stopped learning. So it's a bunch of things that we have on, working on. And I mentioned earlier, we're working with educators to know what tools, what we need to push for to help them be able to teach every student in the classroom, irrespective of their, whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent.
All of these things you've talked about, they need resources to, put them in place. How have you been able to, mobilize these resources to support the work you do?
So right now, everything that we do is self-funded, because again, when you are, my idea is, I just want to see the work, right? So whatever it is that I'm doing right now is personally funded by myself. We're reaching out to sponsors, and we're still seeing, if there are people who want to partner with us or sponsor, that's great. But right now, everything is self-funded.
So as we look into the future, what are you seeing for the continent? What are you seeing for Africa? Do you think we'll be able to overcome the stigma associated the lack of opportunities given to people who have disabilities. Do you have faith that the work you do is changing a life or changing a nation, even if it's a life at a time?
Absolutely, yes. And again, that's why it is important that we also push for policies that allows that, right? I definitely see the work we're doing, moving things and changing things. You're seeing more and more people come out and being able to voice. So we went to the streets of Lagos last week to interview people. And there are a couple of people that stood out to us, particularly a parent who said, well, you know what, my child had this growing up, but I was able to support them. I think most parents would not even be comfortable admitting that on the camera, that they have a child who is on the spectrum. So I see the future, and I'm very, very positive. The idea for us is to continue to push the SDG 4, 8, and 10, which is particularly about inclusivity. And I'm talking about the United Nations SDGs, right? When it comes to inclusivity for persons with disabilities, and even neurodivergent minds. So I see the work expanding. I see us. One of our operations manager is from Gambia. We're working with her to make sure we are also able to expand there. But, again, charity, they say, begins at home. I'm from Nigeria, and definitely a lot of the work we want is to start from Nigeria.
And we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll keep talking to you. I have some questions that some persons have sent in that I'll also like to share with you this morning. Let's go for this break. We'll be right back after now.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all. From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
At Wichtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Wichtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Wichtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
All right, so welcome back to the program. It's still the Saturday edition of Global Morning on Global Television. As we're having a very important discussion this morning, we're looking at disability inclusion, understanding neurodiversity's challenges and strengths. And we have joining us to help make sense of this discussion, Eyvonne Eleko. She's the founder of Daughter of Early Support and Empowerment Initiative. Thank you so much, Eyvonne, for staying with us as we try to wind down on the conversation this morning. I'll just get right ahead and ask, we've seen persons who've done, good cause, who've supported associations and done very good work, but sometimes it's short term. So what assurances are we having that your work will be long term? And I heard you talk about Lagos. We see a lot of things in Lagos, maybe Abuja and perhaps Port Harcourt, River State. Do you have plans to spread your tentacles all across Nigeria? We've talked about Africa. What's the plan going forward?
Absolutely. So the plan is to spread across the Nigeria, right? So the community that we have set up for parents is not just for Lagos or Abuja. So it's just the underground work, which is where our team members are based, where we have team members in Abuja and Lagos. And so it's easier to do a lot of the grassroots work and outreach there. So, but long term, certainly the goal is to make sure that we have conversations, right? We're working on a conference very soon in Abuja there to be able to make sure that we come up with long term, plans, not just something that would be my own vision, but to bring the key stakeholders into the room for us to actually create an avenue to have these conversations where we're hearing from policymakers, we're hearing from educators, we're hearing from professionals, when it comes to trained professionals that can deal with situations like this, because we're short on those people. So we're hearing from parents, we're hearing from actual neurodivergents as well. So the goal is to continue to have these conversations, and it's not going to be something that stops. I mentioned earlier, I'm a neurodivergent myself, so this is a lifelong dream for me. And the goal, we're hoping to expand and, volunteers and just make sure we're spreading across as well. So I'm excited for that.
One of the places that we've seen challenges, it's more in the rural communities because this name calling happens more. The urban community, they could understand, with little explanation. How do we get to those in rural communities, those who may not speak English, or do not have access to the information that we have? How do we get to change the cultural mindsets concerning people that may, behave the same way that a lot of other persons behave?
So what myself and my team, what we're doing is to reach out to the grassroots, right? So we have other media runs that we're doing on radio where we actually have to speak indigenous language, not just English, right? Like you mentioned earlier, people who don't speak English, everybody's not going to be on social media. Everybody's not going to watch TV. So for those people, we're doing door-to-door canvassing, right, to reach out whether to churches or to mosque, right, places where we know that it would be easier to connect with those people. We're doing the grassroots work on that end to make sure we're connecting with the real people that actually need to hear more about this.
Supportive have they been? Those who are the policymakers, reach out to them with the idea. How are receptive have they been?
Very, very open, actually. So they're very open-minded. And I think one of the things that I told my team that we're working on is to make sure that now that we've established that line of communication, to not just go not go without having a plan. So they'll be very receptive and very open-minded to that. So that's exciting.
Because we seem to see, and educators too, we seem to see, a lot of gap in that particular sector where those who have issues, even those who have disability, you could see somebody who had a thriving business once, maybe was involved in a motor accident or one kind of accident, and the person cannot work again. The next thing we see is that they resort to self-help, and most times they resort to begging. And we have a lot of them on our streets, who come out as beggars, who come out as people that should be pitied. How do we change this narrative that persons who have disability are always seeking for societal pity, and even when they have the innate strength and energy to look back and maximize their talent, they just seem to just be on the fence and ask for handouts here and there?
So again, we have to look at I hear what you're saying, but we also have to look at the structure or the infrastructure that is already set up for them, right? It's going to be not that you're not going to see beggars on the streets, even here in the United States, or if you go to the UK or any other developed country, you're going to see people beg on the streets, right? However, like you said, a lot of the people who have been in this situation just tend to resort to that. But that's also maybe because they just don't have the right infrastructure or the right, environment to be able to explore what they want. Like I mentioned earlier, the fact that somebody had an accident and lost a leg does not mean the employer needs to let them go, right? People need to be able to be given the opportunity as well. But if you fire somebody because they got into an accident and lost their legs, then what is the next thing? Because most jobs will not want to employ somebody who they think, oh, well, you got into an accident, you can't walk. So even people who get pregnant can get fired from work, which is, which shouldn't be that way, right? So I think we have to start thinking, and that's why sometimes I think it's about fixing the problem and not the outcome of what not trying to attack the outcome, because the problem is we don't have that flexibility or that equality mindset to accommodate everybody else. We need to set up an ecosystem that allows everybody the same opportunity.
I heard you talk about support groups. How are you creating this? Is it like sales, maybe a locality? How are you creating the support groups for parents to come together? Is it WhatsApp group or a Telegram channel? How are you doing it?
So we have a WhatsApp group, and people can join the group. It's on our website. So we have a WhatsApp group where we are able to, if they're professionals and they're closer to you, we can reference that. And we are working on an application that can give support even to whether neurodivergent or parents. So some of these things are some of the things that we have in the works. But for now, we have that WhatsApp group that has been opened for anybody seeking support, or just want to, sometimes it's just asking questions. Oh, my child does this. Does anybody else have resources, right? So for people to be able to have that community, I think it's very beneficial to them, and it's very important.
Parents been responding, those ones you've interacted with, are they happy? Are they seeing it as a barrier? Somebody was said the other day, it's all these Gen Z things people are saying. I don't understand how my child will wake up and say she has, a mental health this, mental health that. When we're growing up, it doesn't matter the tasks we're given, you were trained to be strong mentally. How are they seeing it? Are they seeing it as this new generation? You guys have come up with something else. What are you talking about? So you should be able to do what your parents say you should do. No matter, nobody cares if you're happy or not. Just do what your parents say you should do. And that's what makes you a good child.
Yeah, so the parents have been very forthcoming, right, with expressing themselves. Sometimes I think it's also creating a space that allows that, when there's trust that, okay, this is a community that truly cares about me, it makes it easier for people to open up. So is what I've also realized. So, but so far so good. They've been very open and very, very participatory in the community.
From your organization and from the work you do as the founder of, we'll talk about the work you do as the founder of Ellen Foundation. What should we be expecting going forward into the future?
A lot of community outreach, work, and we have quite a lot in the pipelines. We're setting up bursaries to celebrate talents for neurodivergent minds or persons with disabilities. We're planning on a walk across the country. We're going to have it in multiple locations to also continue to create this awareness. The goal is to continue to celebrate every child's brilliance and celebrate every person's with disabilities, and make sure nobody's left behind. So we have so much to do, and God willing, I believe that would help, that definitely will continue to push the agenda forward. So I'm excited.
Much, Eyvonne Eleko, founder, daughter of Helen Foundation, daughter of Helen Support and Empowerment Initiative. Thank you so much. I hope the name of your foundation says Daughter of Helen. I hope it's not only for women or the female gender.
No.
It's
no,
inclusive, I heard.
It's actually open to everybody, male or female. It's open to male, female, everybody.
Somebody I'll be suggesting to join Mukhtar, a great guy who does a lot of work around. so we will have more men. Men will also, men's voices will be heard.
More. Absolutely. We need more people. Men, female, we welcome everybody.
Thank you so much. As we discuss disability inclusion, we hope to see a Nigeria and an Africa where people with disability will be included, and even children or adults who have neurodiversity issues will be included, and their thoughts, their feelings, their aspiration will be taken. Notes will be taken of the way they feel, so we could build a better and greater nation and continent. Thank you so much for coming on the program, and we wish you all of the best with the work you do.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great morning and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.